Hi, and thanks for logging on to the Daily Dvar. And here's a brand new halacha for you, and it's for Friday, the 8th day of April. Here we go. Today we're going to talk to you about the special way to prepare charoses for the Seder. Charoses is this mixture of some wine, some apples, some cinnamon, etc., and it is used for dipping. You dip the mar, or the bitter herbs, into the charoses right before you eat the bitter herbs. Okay, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the ingredients. First of all, the consistency of the charosas should start out kind of thick, kind of like the way mortar is, because it resembles the mortar that the Jewish people used in all of the building that they did when they were slaves to the Egyptians. Now, then wine is poured into it, and that's because the wine will be symbolic of the spilling of the Jewish blood that happened throughout all of the torturous years in Egypt. Also, it helps the consistency come down a little bit so that it's more dippable when you dip the bitter herbs into the charoses. Other things that do go into it are things like figs, nuts, dates and pomegranates, etc. The basic reason for all those being added into the charoses, if possible, is because each and every one of those are sometimes used as an allusion to the Jewish people. The Jewish people are beloved by God, of course, and sometimes he speaks of them as the wonderful fig tree has blossomed, referring to the Jews, the wonderful dates, etc., referring to the Jews, pomegranates. So those kinds of things are put into the ingredients because they are symbolic of God's great love for the Jewish people. He even calls us that sometimes by the names of those fruits. You probably know that apples are also included in the ingredients of charoses, and that's because, very interestingly, the Jewish ladies, when they were pregnant and bearing the many, many, many children that were born during their stay in Egypt, they sometimes had to hide during childbirth so that their children could survive, and they actually went out into the apple orchards and had their children behind the apple trees in private so that the Egyptians would not know about their birth. And there, miraculously, their births were painless. And symbolic of that, we put some apples into the charoses mixture also. It is appropriate to put in some cinnamon. Cinnamon can never be ground up totally. I mean, I know you can buy it finely ground in a jar today, but in your classic old-fashioned grinding of cinnamon, there were always little strands of straw left, things that looked like straw, and we put that into the charos. It's also symbolic of all the straw that was used in building the bricks and all the torturous stuff. One last thing that I got to tell you is charoses always taste very delicious, and bitter herbs don't taste delicious. And when you dip the bitter herbs in the charoses, the bad news is you're supposed to shake off all the charoses off of the bitter herbs and then eat the bitter herbs, but you're not supposed to douse them in the taste of the charoses. Sorry, but that's the law. Thanks for logging on. Have a great Shabbos and log on again after Shabbos for more. Bye-bye.